Question period. This is an opportunity for members of the gallery to ask a question or a comment on the agenda. We'd like to limit you to one person. We have 15 minutes of time. And as an individual comes up, please state your name so Lynn can record it. And if you could limit your question to 1 minute, that would be appreciated so we could fill the meeting out properly tonight. Thank you. Any questions?
Can I come up to the podium?
Yeah, please come up to the podium. Sorry. There's no mic there, so it doesn't really sort of lead to that welcoming position. And your question.
Thank you. My name is Brooke. I stand before you today as a woman of the land. This past November 13th on Saturday, case number 2021 SD22 was held by the court at an open public hearing, and each of you has since been served by the Sovereign Common Law Court of the Land with a cease and desist order regarding mask mandates, genetic testing, and COVID vaccinations. You as public servants and public service employees for School District 22 hold no authority over the general public or the women and men of the land. You are supposed to serve the public. You don't represent us. You are to answer to us. And if you fail the cease and desist in your unlawful actions, then those named herein will assume all declarations and liabilities as stated in the order, and any member of the general public or women and men of the land may take legal action against you personally. So my questions to you are you acting in accordance with your oath to put the best interest of the public ahead of your own?
Yes.
Okay. Do you serve the general public?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Are you, as an employee of School District 22, getting paid to make decisions regarding mandates and policies?
Yes.
So each of you are being funded to implement vaccine mandates, which means you are personally accept all financial liability for her.
I can't answer that one particularly. We were asking just for one question and not a series of them.
Okay.
But you've made your point. So
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
And hearing no other questions during this question period? No, sorry. If you could come up a little quicker, then we can move. Thank you. If you could state your name and your position, that'd be nice so Lynn can record it. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Denise Walterhouse, and I'm a school teacher in the school district here. And I do have two questions. I don't know if that would be allowed. They're pertaining both to the survey that was sent out. One is I'd like to know why the staff and teachers who completed the vaccination disclosure survey have not yet been provided with the results, whether or not they will be provided with the results. And I'd also like to know how a survey is going to provide enough information about risk assessment, as well as whether or not, I guess this is 4 questions, other factors will be considered.
There is sort of a 5-step process that we've been provided for by the government and BCPC, and Superintendent Perkins can respond to that. And the first part was to actually do the survey. So
the results are public. They have been since I believe Monday. So they're in the agenda tonight, 11.5, and I will speak to them later.
Right. Okay. They are very brief.
Yep.
I'm wondering if the results will be sent out to the teachers and staff through the email at some point?
No, the point of doing the survey was anything we said public was to be very broad and was not to be, it was a confidential survey.
Yeah, for the public. I guess
Yeah.
my question is pertaining to the staff and teachers who are asked to complete the survey.
Yeah, it's confidential to staff too. It's
the results.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And so then they won't be given an email personally?
No.
Like through the email, their district email?
I'll
They'll just need to look then at the agenda? Or?
No, I'm speaking to it tonight.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And risk assessment? You're using it for risk assessment in the
It's
schools?
one piece of data that the
workplace?
board is considering
Alright.
in their thought processes.
And
over
what are
this.
the other pieces?
Other data from interior health, other pieces of information from the ministry,
Anything around natural
letters,
immunity?
pardon me?
Anything around natural immunity?
Yes, the board has received a lot of letters.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi.
Corey, you're going to be the first victim here. Jen Acton, the chair, is virtually, she asked everybody to speak up, so thank you.
Oh, great. No problem, I have a teacher voice.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Jan? Thanks, Corey Hallner, VTA president.
Yeah.
Thanks. This is about the request for proposal in the district strategic plan. My question is, and I don't need them maybe answered here, but maybe in the discussion you guys have. First of all, I don't even remember a request for proposal going out. I'm wondering if how many proposals may have come in, and if the school board saw all of the proposals and decided on this one, or if it's just coming to you today as is. And also then the timeline, may I ask that you be careful in, I understand there's an election next year, new board coming in or not, and I prefer all of you to stay, just saying. Please, the timeline is really tight on the proposal. Teachers, staff, QP, VTA are very tired, exhausted right now. COVID's not over, lots going on. And I just really would appreciate you looking at that and maybe not finalizing everything in June and elongating this, because if you want it to be meaningful, the relationships need to be there. And the focus groups, people need time for giving input on this. I have to tell you, the last one is a piece of paper that people just have on their desk. And I don't want that this time, so please just take note of timelines and people's precious time right now. So if it doesn't get done by June, I would appreciate it being in the process or so on, but it's really important to have the voice and the buy-in for something so huge.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I think there was another gentleman, sorry.
Hi everyone. I'm just here to address you in regards to the push on mandatory vaccinations.
Your name and
My name's Daniel Isles. I'm a parent of a student here in the school district.
thank you.
So it's in regards to the push on mandatory vaccinations in our schools for staff. There are a large number of schools in the district of in BC now that have voted no on these mandates in our schools. We, as concerned parents and community members in School District 22, would like to show our support and appreciation to our valued school teachers and faculty members by making our voices heard that we oppose these mandates in our schools. No one on this board, to my knowledge, is medically qualified to be making suggestions on medical mandates for anybody in any capacity at all. Bonnie Henry said that this virus has shown us that there are inequities in our community that have been exacerbated by this pandemic, and there is no way we will recommend inequities be increased. Therefore, by any board member here pushing these mandates, they would create more inequities that could affect teaching staff's livelihood and mental well-being, not to mention that promotes segregation, which should not be tolerated in today's inclusive society. We have here a petition that's signed by over 800 parents and community members opposing these mandates. We do not agree.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your position. time, unless there's somebody, we'll move on in terms of the agenda. Thank you. Any other questions? Or Lynn, did you have any? Sorry. Any virtual ones? Sorry.
Yes, I have one. It's from Nikki Dunlop. She's a parent. At the last meeting, there were people in attendance who were not wearing masks. They claimed to be exempt. If their health was an issue, it boggles my mind that they would put themselves at risk and be in a room without a mask when they could stream the meeting at home. My question to you is how many of those in attendance, not including the board, are wearing masks tonight?
Yeah, most people are wearing them, I think. How many people
I
aren't?
think I was about a dozen.
About a dozen. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, excuse me, I sent a question virtually, so if you're not gonna address it, may I address that?
Oh, if Lynn does, Lynn has it?
Who's it from?
Who's it from?
Are you Nikki Dunlop?
No, my name's Alana, definitely.
Oh, that's the one that came earlier. We did get two earlier that I sent to trustees.
So can I, it's just brief.
Sure.
So again, for the whole mandates, if our largest, school district, Surrey, I'm Alana LaRiviere, also a concerned parent. New West, Langley, like there's a handful that have already agreed that we're already short teachers. So my question is, apparently 47 vacancies were needed yesterday for TOCs. Those could not all be filled from a source that is close to the district, and I think it's a trustworthy source. So if they cannot fill those positions, my question is, how do you plan on having enough qualified teachers for the additional vacant classrooms if you mandate this vaccine? Because you're not going to get to 100%, and according to your survey, you're at like over 90%. So, there's only 5% left. So I think if you add up the 5%, you're still not going to have enough teachers. So that's my question.
Okay.
If you have a plan moving forward, if we already don't have enough teachers, if this moves
Thank you.
forward.
Appreciate that. I guess I'll go back teaching and make it 46.
What was that, sorry?
I guess I go back to teaching and I'll make it 46 because I still have my certificate. Just a light humor. Moving on, I would like to.
Good evening, trustees, Superintendent Perkins, school district staff, and community members. My name is Christine Love, and I'm the Director of Student Support Services. In Student Support Services, our mandate is to provide inclusionary programs and services at schools to ensure that all students with diverse needs can achieve their goals of their educational programs. And this ties in directly with our school district 22 goal of developing successful lifelong learners. So today I'm going to focus specifically on mental health and wellness goals that support our students and staff in School District 22. And as a school district, we're always working to align our practice with provincial initiatives that have been proven to be successful and are grounded in evidence-based research, while also keeping individual school-based goals in mind. There are a variety of school-based programs and services that we want to look at. So, for example, universal programs that the majority of students can benefit from right within their classrooms. We're also looking at targeted programs where a group would benefit from small intensive support. And finally, services that provide one-to-one intensive support for students and specialized staff. So we're going to start with an overview of our current strategies that are being utilized. To begin with, School District 22 has a mental health and healthy promoting school liaison. Her name is Kristen Zoost. Kristen works hard to streamline our mental health services by working closely with our community partners. She's responsible for supporting and expanding the mental health initiatives and services offered in the district. Kristen also provides support to wellness initiatives to School District 22's employees, and she's often presenting at various workshops and professional development days. There are a number of specialized School District 22 staff that support our vulnerable students and learners, such as counselors, behavior specialists, inclusion specialists, and intensive behavior EAs. And we have contracts with White Valley, Noifus, Child Youth Mental Health, and many other organizations. And all of these partners work together with our school district staff and school-based teams to support students and families. And we know that strengthening relationships with our mental health service providers will also increase our capacity of school district staff to respond in a way that supports mental health and well-being. So we're going to take a look, we're on the right slide, thank you, Lynn. We're going to take a look at one of our existing strategies, and that's utilizing the EASE program. So EASE stands for Everyday Anxiety Strategies for Educators, and we've been utilizing that for K to 7. With the EASE program, it provides an overview of anxiety and how that presents within the classroom. It introduces evidence-based curriculum and aligned strategies for managing anxiety at school. And in this program, practical ways to include strategies in classroom routines are an area of focus. We've also continued with specific programs used by our school counselors. 2 examples of these are social emotional learning games that can be used in a small group targeting specific behavior. Another program that has been well received within schools is the Roots of Empathy program. This is an international evidence-based and empathy-based program. It aims to promote mental health and prevent violence. At the heart of this program is a neighborhood infant and a parent who visits classrooms throughout the year. And we've recently trained another group of staff, which includes many of our school counselors, to continue implementing this program in the district. And another existing initiative that we're utilizing is Preventure and Habit. These programs, these are coordinated by our drug and alcohol counselor within the school district. And the majority of our school district counselors have received training in this program. This program is also a proactive and evidence-based approach to coping with anxiety, negative thinking, peer pressure, and substance usage. So we're on the right one now. Our final slide of the existing strategies lays out the training that is happening across the district. Ongoing training for staff, counselors, and district staff, with a focus on district-wide trauma-informed practice. So far, this year we've incorporated presentations in this area in professional development days, staff meetings, and admin meetings, as well as an Indigenous Pro-D. We're working to develop the understanding of how trauma affects our students, and we're building the ability to recognize the signs of trauma. Trying to develop a system-wide response to trauma that informs all behaviors, language, programs, and policies, while being mindful of ways to support safety, connection, skill building, and self-care for students. That is our goal. So next slide, we're going to be looking at further development of our mental health strategies and initiatives within School District 22. So the Ministry of Education provides a mental health grant to each school district to support mental health and well-being promotion. And we've received $122,845. Our plan this year is to continue to utilize our Healthy Promoting School Liaison to implement programs and collaborate with our outside agencies, and the cost is on the wall there for that. We're also going to continue with a .4 counseling position that was added last year on a temporary basis, and we've continued with that right now. And for the remainder of the money, to utilize just over $30,000 for implementing new strategies into the school district. So right now we're going to take a look at the next slide, a synopsis of the new initiatives that are available in the school district. First one is called Sleeping Soundly, and we know that a lack of sleep has a great impact on our students, and I'm sure many of you can relate and know that when you have not had a good night's sleep, how you function the next day. And at the district level, we hear of many students who stay up throughout the night for various reasons, and the negative impact that this can have on their ability to learn. So the Sleeping Soundly program provides classroom teachers with a toolkit with advanced technology and lessons and activities to help students understand and track and monitor their sleep and their relaxation. Another program that we're looking at is Strong Kids. That's a program that focuses on social emotional learning. Character Strengths is a new program that we're implementing. It's based on leading research in positive psychology. Staff and students are guided through a process of learning about their key character strengths, as well as how to develop qualities that are underutilized. Our counselors have worked with our Indigenous Ed department to look at specific strengths and to associate that strength with a picture of an animal in the silk culture. And then this is mapped out on a medicine wheel. And we currently have a couple of schools utilizing the Character Strengths program. The next program is Open Parachute. Students receive instruction on skills and tools to strengthen mental health through classroom discussions and recorded lessons with messages delivered by other children and youth. And of course, I've talked about our district-wide trauma-informed practice that we want to continue with. Many of our counselors have received training in emotion-focused strategies training. This is an area that uses emotion-focused strategies to help repair the effects of trauma, reduce stress, and build upon students' capacity to self-regulate. And finally, the EASE program I mentioned before was utilized for K-7. This program has now been expanded into high schools. And finally, I want to talk to you about our Brain Bikes initiative that started last year. Stationary bikes within our schools can be used as an effective tool to support learning, health, and self-regulation. And through partnerships with the Vernon Rotary Club and support from the Ford Foundation and utilizing School District 22 funding, we currently have 44 bikes within our schools. And we're working to continue to build that program and have more bikes in schools. So that is an overview of our mental health initiatives in School District 22.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have some comments or questions?
Yeah, just some questions here about some of these initiatives. I'm just wondering, are these going to be mandatory classes in the school, or are they going to be elective, or maybe a teacher recommending that the student kind of goes and takes these initiatives?
Yeah.
And the reason I'm asking is I'm worried that if a student is asked to take this, they're going to actually feel singled out.
Exactly. None of these initiatives are mandatory, and what we've done is actually using a response to intervention triangle within each school. We're looking at strategies that can be implemented classroom-based, small group-based, and then our tier 3 supports, which is one-on-one. So we've been working with school-based teams to meet with them individually and to talk about what do they see would be successful within their schools. What programs are they currently utilizing? What other types of programs are they looking at? We're providing a list of these selected programs that we've already vetted and looked at, so that that's an option for certain classroom teachers or counselors and that sort of thing. So it's really implemented at a school level, either with the classroom teacher or a counselor working one-on-one with a small group or one-on-one.
Because personally for myself,
Yeah.
I would actually like to see this as mandatory classrooms in every class, every student takes it, so they learn right from kindergarten, grade 1, how to deal with the mental issues, and that it's okay to ask for help. So later on, when they get to high school or they get to an adulthood and they're having problems with pressure, they already know the help's there, and it takes away the stigma of asking for help. So I would just like to see this become just a regular course, just like sex ed, just like whatever, right? We take that now, so let's add this into it.
And that's the least intrusive way to deliver the message to many, so that you know everybody can hear the message, but there might be specific students who really benefit from that message, but they're not singled out when hearing it in the classroom.
Yeah, perfect, thank you.
Trustee Olson.
I just wanted to maybe ask a question or comment, or excuse me, I was encouraged by the Character Strengths program. I'd like to hear a little more about that, but I just see that as a really key way of helping build confidence in students, because every student has...
Speak up a little bit. Speak up, please.
We can't hear you.
Okay, I'll try that again. How's that? Hear that?
Yeah.
Way better.
Okay, thank you. I like getting better. Character Strengths program. I was just saying that all students have strengths, and I see that program as being a real builder, confidence builder for students, and I'd like to hear a little bit more about it, because every student has strengths and every student has weaknesses. Everyone. So when we identify the strengths and we work on it, and they realize they have those strengths, they can build the confidence, and then we focus on things that need attention. And I just wanted to maybe hear a little bit more about that.
Exactly, and you summarized that really well. And actually, I had some, just came to me late, I had some great pictures of that program being utilized at Lavington Elementary. And there were little people, and they had a little picture of the strength that they have and what they're working on. But you're right, it really focuses on the positive, so our students have the message that there are things that they are good at. And then they can also take a look at, other areas that they can continue to develop. So, yeah, I'll share those pictures with the trustees that have been taken at Lavington Elementary. And they also have a great big bulletin board that focuses on strengths. And it's neat that we're tying it in with the silk culture.
Just one comment. When I was working here, and I was the career program director, I worked with Doug Rogers a number of times. He's a drug and alcohol counselor, and we had a 3-step process for kids who were having trouble in those issues, moving them towards recovery and then moving them towards improving their English and math skills and getting them into OC and the trades. And he's done a heck of a job over the years when I was working with him. And to have those students come back, and one came back to me the other day, he's been working 6 years now, and wanted to thank Doug Rogers and myself briefly for the support that he had at that time to get off what he was doing and move on, and I think you do a great job.
That's excellent to hear, and Doug is still with us, working hard. I had a meeting with him this afternoon.
Okay,
Yeah.
is he still?
Yep, he's still working case by case. He's a drug and alcohol counselor within the school district.
Right.
He still works hard to tie students up in the community with positive, career-focused initiatives.
Perfect.
So he's
Thank you.
doing well. Thank
Thank
you
you.
all. Thanks very much.
Moving on,
Educator, it's in the document for you as well. Absolutely fabulous to see our student support services out doing aquatics. I just love seeing all the sports and aquatics that are underway again, and it's just an absolute wonderful opportunity for our students to improve their mental health. And as spoken about earlier, we know that the last year was very difficult on students not being able to socialize and not being able to go out and do these things. So very, very pleased that those events are going again. Our IT department has a fabulous list, 16 items that they've already accomplished this year in basically 8 weeks. That's also included at the back, so you get a range from what our kiddies are doing all the way to what all our adults are doing. Also at the back is a list of ways that you can communicate with us and other groups around the province that are significant to you, such as BCC PAC, the BC Principals Association, Trustees Association, and then how to communicate with our district. So all those links are on the website and in the report for you. In addition, we've got some mental health resources and the entire list of special celebration days between November and school starting again after winter break on January 4th. We try to give as much information ahead of time as possible. But I really want to thank everyone who participates in all the great things that are going on in our schools and all the fabulous learning for our young people. And in thinking about all of this, our hearts go out, and I want to say on behalf of School District 22, Vernon, the board, and the district, our hearts go out to everyone in School District 58 and Abbotsford schools right now who have really been displaced in so many ways. Their schools are closed, and those students are not able to do the things that are celebrated in the report this month. And we don't know how long they'll be out, but we definitely want to know that they're in our thoughts, and we think sending lots of positive energy their way over the next few weeks, because it's going to be very difficult for all of them as they put that all back together. And in closing, I just want to...
Right, moving on to 11.4, the Woodlot financial update by Acting Secretary Treasurer Johnson.
Okay, so there's a couple of documents in the board package. The first one is the Woodlot financial statements. I won't spend any time on them. But in summary, the company that owns the Woodlot and that is a subsidiary of the school district is in a healthy financial situation. What isn't quite so healthy, unfortunately, are some of the trees on the Woodlot. So also included in the board agenda package is just a summary of the situation at the Woodlot and the harvesting, and also a visual. Essentially, there are many trees in one particular area of the woodlots that are infested with fir beetle. The long-term consequences, if left unmanaged, would be that those trees would die, which then in turn would be a horrific fire hazard. Also, it would allow the fir beetle to get established and to spread and damage and hurt other woodlands as well. So the only way to remediate that is to harvest essentially the trees, to log and harvest and remove the trees. So this here is a view, this is a photo taken from the oval in the center of Lumbee. This is what it currently looks like. And this is a kind of a mocked up graphic of what it would, of the harvesting impact from the same viewpoint. You can see, you can see, oh great, yeah, yeah. You might be able to see existing cut blocks. You can just about make them out in the picture up there. The additional cut blocks will be here, so they'll be here, and they will be visible. It's a steep slope as well, so it's a fairly complex harvesting process. We've engaged Tolco to do the harvesting and to purchase the wood. And yeah, and it'll be a visible cut block from London.
Thank you. I've got some questions. Trustee Mindich, then Trustee Brewer.
Yes, not so much questions, but I would like to say thank you for getting on the fir beetle devastation right away, because especially with the way our forest fire situations has been happening lately. Another thing is just to make sure that the cleanup is done. Because I know sometimes, you know, the cleanup is kind of left behind, and I really would hate to see all the fall just stand there and have the slash piles burning and stuff. So yeah, thank you.
I was just wondering, is the license available for us to read?
It's in the Woodlot license. Yeah. I believe it's a document. I could get that shared with you. What, is there anything in particular you're looking for?
I just want to see.
See license, okay. I should add as well that the consultations were done with the First Nations, whose territory overlaps with the Woodlot, so that process was followed.
Trustee Comes up.
Sort of to add and build on what Lori's asked, the Trustee Mindich has asked for, I know that there's a lot of value add products that can be done with any piles, so there shouldn't be any reason for any burned piles. There's markets out there for that. And are we doing reforestation in there as well?
Absolutely, yes. We're required as part of our tenure to plant, within a certain time frame, and I believe there's also requirements in terms of the volume of wood that can be left behind. So making sure we need to do it clean up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your report. Having been associated with the Woodlot for a number of years, that's one of the things we really, really do well in School District 22 in terms of having some value-added wood and value-added career experience for kids who like to go into the particular programs we have out there. So thank you. Next up is 11.5, the vaccine survey update, and Superintendent Perkins will speak to that, please.
Okay, so the vaccination survey was designed to minimize the collection of identifiable personal information. And just to answer, I believe it was Denise earlier, we are gathering and broadly answering the results of the survey because we promised our staff that it would be 100% confidential. So out of our 1,100 staff, 813 participated, which reflected 74% of all staff, exempt, VTA, and QB. And we thought that was an excellent result for a survey. Standard results in surveys in general run between 10 to 15%. So it was a very good result. 7% of those were exempt, 37% were support staff, and 56% were from VTA. 92% of all the participants claimed to be double vaxxed. 3.9 preferred not to answer. 0.6 had 1 dose, and 3.44 had no dose. The survey was completed in families of schools and the board office. So that broad information is made even broader in these results. It's purposeful that way so that no one can tell who's who or how anybody answered. And it's kept that way so the board remains neutral as well in their assessment and evaluation of all of that. We will send this document out to staff so that you can let people know that piece. That'll come out this week after the board meeting. And this is only one piece of information the board is gathering. All boards in the province, as you know, are to be following a process. It is posted on the website, and this is just one step along the way in whether a board makes a decision to put a mandate in place or not. I'm not speaking for the board, and I know that the board has not met on this topic, so there's no further information to give you at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the trustees of the superintendent? Trustee Lee?
I know all boards are given a template more or less for us to follow along, so obviously this is one part of that process. There are some also other components on there where we're supposed to be involving discussions with stakeholders, etc., so on. So where roughly are we? Is there anything moving that way, or is there a timeline that is occurring? Those are questions I'm being asked.
Right, so just so everybody knows, it's on the website, but it's called the K-12 Sector Guidelines for Vaccination Policies. You only keep going through the process if you're going to create a policy. So the survey is part of number 1, gather data and evidence in alignment with privacy rules. It's part of that section. We haven't moved any further along at this time.
Okay, thank you. Under action items 12.1, strategic planning proposal, and that's Superintendent Perkins again. And the recommendation is that the Board of Education enters into an agreement with the PCG Canada, ULC, to prepare a multi-district strategic plan. I need a mover for that particular. Trustee Mindich, and a seconder, Trustee Lee. And I'll refer to Superintendent Perkins to give us an overview before we have any discussion. Thank you.
Then if we could have the picture of the timeline. Thank you. So this is just to help everybody out a little bit. I know it's small for those of you that are far away, but and I know some of you listening can't see it, so I'll try to be as clear as possible. The process that PCG is proposing involves 3 phases. First, a discovery and establish the actions and community feedback phase, followed by a plan development, building the plan for the board, and then phase 3, plan completion and building the level plans. And it's to be a multi-year plan. So the board currently has, I'll take it down again, the board currently has a 5-year plan that ends in June of 2022. So by doing the work in advance, the plan would be ready, not by June as mentioned earlier, but ideally might come to the board for September, with a draft ready by June, but certainly come before the board in September. That allows the summertime for PCG and others to do some final tweaking to whatever comes out of it. So the idea would be to kick it off and begin in November and plan for community consultation. So that would be gathering the names of all the folks that need to be contacted and invited to participate in focus groups, developing the DSPC, Education Loves acronyms, so the District Strategic Plan Committee, which is largely at that point made up of staff, and then of course meetings with the school board. So those kind of meetings would take place between November and December. And then in January, there would be a week of in-person consultation with focus groups that would include, for example, all of the stakeholder parties, rights holder parties, so OKIB, our Métis Association, our Friendship Center, PVP, our Principals and Vice Principals Organization, VTA, CUPE for sure, and other groups like students, so student SOGI group perhaps that might have some vested interest or input. A student group at large that would tell us, say from representatives from grade 8 to 12 representing all schools, that might want to help us know, what do you want school and learning to look like in the next 4 or 5 years? Where do you want to be by 2030? What do you like about what we're doing now? What would you like to see changed? And what do you dream of for our district? It's a visionary piece and a piece that people work on collaboratively together, and there's several iterations. So that would happen in January, meeting with the focus groups, and then after that week of meeting, that would be the launch, a final meeting with the board that week, and then the launch of community-wide survey, where everyone would have an opportunity to share their voice, offer ideas, and answer very similar questions around what works, what doesn't work, what do we need to change, what do you dream of if you think of the future of learning in our community. So it's a real opportunity for everyone to have a piece in it and say that they can see themselves and that they were part of it. First draft would, at the earliest, come out around March. So you can see that right around spring break. And then it comes back so that all of those focus groups and community folks can see and take a look and offer some more input and more sort of finessing of language, areas where we agree on, where we overlap, where we maybe there's a big gap between us. And they're also going to take a look at things like results and testing processes and grad rates and attendance, all sorts of things to see where there might be gaps and where we're targeting our efforts. Then in about April, they go back and they redraft another second draft and come back again in May for the final round of feedback for community. So it's iterative and it follows the cycle of inquiry that we all teach our students and how to do research and how to boil things down to the final point. So very broad, a little narrower, and then into the final product. The draft then would come to the board in June. The board would have an opportunity to make any final comments to the organization. And over the summer, lots of the community input data and things like that would be finalized for the final draft, or the final document, which would be presented to the board for approval in probably September of 2002. So it's almost a year-long process, about 10 months in total. And involves everyone. Everyone would have an opportunity because it would go to the public, not just school employees, not just students, not just parents. It goes to the whole community. There is a community focus group, and that would include people from, for instance, Community Futures, City of Vernon, Chamber of Commerce, organizations like that. So it would be a very widely cast net for information, and then brought back in and funneled through the process. So that's called exploring the possible, what might be and what could be for the future. That helps.
Thank you very much. Any discussion by the board? Sorry, you got to do the swivel here.
It is a very aggressive timeline. Have you had any conversations with any of the other partner groups? Are they aware of this coming up in the next little while?
Yes, just yesterday, as you heard from Corey, she's aware that it's coming out, and so is Gray and CUPE, heard yesterday as well. But it wouldn't be launched publicly until tonight, so this is the formal debut of the process.
And are you hoping to have all the consultation with the direct partner groups that you've just mentioned there done by December? Because from now till December, we're all rather busy.
Yeah, no, between now and December, it's just the three main groups in the sense of it would be the district strategic plan committee, it would be the board, of course, and then there would be probably a leadership component with the BC PVTA group and a couple of others at that point. We would have to decide who that would be in consultation with PCG. The actual meeting of all the partner groups, and DPAC, I forgot about DPAC, sorry, I know you're out there listening, Gladys, I haven't totally forgotten about you. DPAC, of course, and all our PAC presidents would be one of the partner groups as well. And they would be scheduled in one entire week in January. I think it's tentatively down for the 17th through the 21st, sometime that week, so in about 6 weeks. There would be a lot of information that would go public before that to inform everybody, to make sure that everybody was fully aware of what was going on and had an opportunity to say, I want to be part of it, and that sort of thing.
I've had a few people ask about why we didn't go out to looking at other proposals.
And I heard that earlier too, so thank you. So we have managed to piggyback and save some costs. SD22 Kamloops is also doing a strategic plan right now, and they had done a survey and looked at a few other organizations, such as normally it's an RFP bid on BC bid, which we did do, but we'll get to that in a minute. They had sort of filtered organizations, sort of the Peers Employment Group, the Helios Group, and another group that turned out they had to admit they are not familiar with K-12. And of course, you don't want a strategic planning company that's not familiar with K-12. So in the end, SD23, 83 at Salmon Arm, and 73 over at Kamloops have over different periods of time used PCG Group. We did put out an RFP, and I know that Acting Secretary Treasurer Johnson can speak more to it, but it had a limit, had a budget limit to it, so we wanted to see who would come in and how that worked out. PCG put their names forward and were able to meet the timeline, produce the deliverables that we were looking for to ensure that the board could meet their timelines as well. And in the end, we had face-to-face conversations with them as well, and their product was really good. And they are very familiar with K-12. There's some former superintendents on the board and some other folks that have done K-12 for over 35 years. So they are very familiar with K-12.
Any other questions? Okay, I would like to have a vote on the motion. All those in favor to accept Superintendent Perkins and the recommendation?
Yes. Yeah, Carrot.
Okay, and that's yes from Chair Acton, sorry. So it's carried, thank you. I don't see any notice of motions or requests for information, so I'd like to move on to number 15, and that's trustee remuneration. The recommendation is that the Board of Education approve the trustee remuneration amounts effective November 1st, 2021, as outlined in the attached and consistent with the policy and regulation of 1.01. And I will let our Secretary Treasurer, I need a mover and a seconder to that first. Mover, seconder, and I'll let our Secretary Treasurer speak to the remuneration. I remember when we all first came on the school board, the way it was focused was that it was recommended that we take the average of 5 different school districts and see how that all worked out. And we moved on to cost of living or the consumer price index, and we voted for the lesser of the two. And I'll let Secretary Treasurer speak to that. Thank you.
And so for a bit of history, the trustees' remuneration used to be tied to a cohort. A year or two ago, the trustees voted to amend the regulation, as Chair Williamson indicated. So now the trustees' remuneration is tied to the BC Consumer Price Index. And so it increases in line with or decreases in line with the Consumer Price Index. And the year that covers is from April to March, I believe. So to March 2021, the Consumer Price Index increased by 0.6%. That's 0.6%. So what is reflected here is an increase in remuneration of 0.6% from last year.
Any trustee discussion? Hearing none, I would call for the vote. All those in favor? And Chair Acton voted in favor. Thank you. Next is the trustee committees, the updated list, and it's in our.
So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sibylle Bayer. I'm a mother, a grandmother, and most important, I'm a freedom fighter. Hello, Vernon. I did bring 2 ministerial orders tonight, and I just want to recap a little bit. So my first order, it says Province of British Columbia, Order of the Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General, Emergency Program Act, Ministerial Order number M073. Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic poses a significant threat to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of British Columbia and threatens to disproportionately impact the most vulnerable segments of society. And whereas prompt coordination of action and special regulation of persons or property is required to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of British Columbia and to mitigate the social and economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on residents, businesses, communities, organizations, and institutions throughout the province of British Columbia. Now, therefore, I declare that the state of emergency exists throughout the whole of the province of British Columbia, and it was dated March 18th, 2020 by our Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General Mike Farnworth. The next ministerial order. It says, Province of British Columbia, Order of the Minister of the Public Safety and Solicitor General, Emergency Program Act, Ministerial Order number M275. I, Mike Farnworth, Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General, order that, effective at the end of the day on June 30th, 2021, the attached declaration of a state of emergency throughout the whole of the province of British Columbia made on March 18th, 2020, and subsequently extended is cancelled. Dated June 29th, 2021, Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General Mike Farnworth. So we're not under a state of emergency in this province anymore. Every mandates, rules, and regulations are completely illegal. That means wearing your breathing barriers, which you call masks. It's completely illegal to mandate this to our children. Mandates against our children to have them the bioweapon injected is completely illegal. Be aware of that. Completely illegal. Furthermore, I witnessed in person that you were served notices of liabilities. Each one of you. I remember that. I witnessed it. So from here on out, we will hold you personally accountable and liable if you harm our children. The citizen of this city, as soon as we know we're gonna get active and we have legal rights to sue you, each single one of you. And I'm not just here as a Canadian citizen, I'm also here as an international citizen because I have the citizenship of the Federal Republic of Germany, and let me tell you, I have high contacts, and I have a contact to a trial lawyer in Germany. He's an international trial lawyer. And we can take you to the International Human Rights Tribunal, and we can sue each individual of you. So you better think hard. If you want to implement mandates which are completely illegal, false, and you're just following a narrative which is totally evil. Thank you for your time.
President again. Two questions, and hopefully you'll give me two. First of all, I've asked for, formally requested for a presentation in December and haven't heard word yet about a mentorship program presenting to you folk. So please, it would be nice to hear back. We'd like to prepare for that, and hopefully you have room for it. And the next school board meeting, I'm wondering if we are going to find out about the vaccine mandates, whether where you're at, even if it's not some decision. But it would be nice for, I think, most staff to know before the holidays a little bit more clarity. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that. I don't know if you can respond to that. No. Okay.
And I just wanted to say this for the board. Through you.
Anybody else who hasn't had a comment or a question?